Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, Grace Torie, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. I'm so excited about today's episode because we are going to be diving in how to have the best 2025. We are setting ourselves up for success. So these are all going to be questions about how you can do that, like questions you can ask yourself, things you can do to prepare yourself. It's all going to be about prepping for 2025 to make sure that you have the best year ever. So the first thing we're going to do is go through my journal, and I'm going to talk about all of the journal things that I do and like the prompts I do in there to set myself up, and then how I continue to do those throughout the year. And then we're going to get into some prompts and questions specific to a whole bunch of different categories in your life so that you can set yourself up in those areas and follow through with those goals throughout the year. I'm so excited. I really don't have much else to say, I don't think. I'm really excited for 2025. I feel like there's going to be a lot of positive changes, and I feel like it's going to be a really great year. Before I jump in, don't forget to follow or subscribe or whatever the term is on whatever platform you're currently listening on. If you are just listening, I'm going to be showing the journal prompts like on video, so you may want to switch over to YouTube or Spotify where you can see that. It won't hurt the video, it's just like a little bit easier for you to see it. I'll still explain it, but again, like seeing it is easier. So yeah, if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But other than that, we are still trying to hit our goal on YouTube of 1,000 subscribers before 2025. So if you do hit that button, don't forget to comment #GalWithGoals so that I know that you are a real one and joining the community. That is pretty much it. Let's go ahead and jump on into the episode. I'm Grace Torie, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. Like I said, the first thing we're going to do is crack open my journal, and I'm going to talk about everything I do in this bad boy to get ready for the new year. So I started doing this last year with this specific journal, and this journal has been my journal throughout that year and now moving into the next year. So these are some of the things I do. I do have a vision board. I talked about how I prepare to have a vision board where actually pretty much everything comes true on it, and we're on year 3 of that being the case. So if you want to know how to make a vision board that actually comes true, that's a few episodes back. I give you all the tea, how I pick my goals, what I do to make that happen, how many pictures I use for each one, all the things. So we're not going to talk about the vision board in this one. We're only going to be talking about journaling and then those other specific things I talked about, because this is going to be a heck of an episode. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is my 2024 books chart. So if you're listening, basically I create a blank page, and the top of it says 2024 books read or 2025 books read. And then I have a scale at the top, and every number 1 through 10 is assigned a color. So 1 orange, 2 pink, 3 yellow, all the way up to 10. And then I have rating, book, and thoughts as 3 different columns on the page. And so rating is the color of the number that I gave it. So say I gave it a 10, then it would have a dark blue color for that square. And then the book refers to the title. So for my first one, it says A Court of Thorns and Roses. And then for thoughts, for that column, I write whatever my thoughts were on the book. So this is what my 2024 looks like. We're going to get to this in a second. Obviously, I could have read a lot more. I finished with 25, I think. I DNF'd a lot of books, like a lot of books. But basically, that's pretty much it. I went throughout the side of the page, and just kind of every single month, I would color a specific color for all of the books. So say I read 3 books in January, I would color next to those columns like a specific color, and then I would write January so that I knew I read those 3 in January. And so I just did that all the way down the side so that I knew how many books I read each month and kept track of it that way. So this is more of like a making sure I'm staying on top of my reading goals, and also we should all be expanding our minds, whether it's through fiction, nonfiction, whatever your thing is for you. I dabble in a little bit of everything, but books is a great way to do that. So this is more so just like a thing that I do because I enjoy it and I want to know what my thoughts were on each book and keep track of them. You can also do Goodreads if you are more of like an app person, but I'm a journal person, so I like it all being on paper. And yeah, so I already did my 2025 one. It's empty, obviously, because I haven't done it yet, but I'll show you what it looks like. That's what it looks like. It's blank, but it has a scale at the top, and then it has 2025 books read, and my goal for this next year is 50, so I want to double it. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's because I kind of fell out of reading. So next we're going to talk about my chart, which is a little bit more complicated, and this is the one that I was like, maybe you should listen or watch instead of just listening for this one. So basically it's a wheel, and the wheel is divided into sections, and the sections are as follows: money and finances, career, health and fitness, fun and recreation, environment, community, family and friends, partner and love, personal growth and learning, and spirituality. So once you have it divided into those sections, you also create like 10 circles on the inside. So those are 10 circles, which means that you can rate yourself from a 1 to a 10. And so what you're going to do is color in up to where you feel like you are currently at. So this is my 2023 and 2024 one, so I just completely finished it. I haven't done my 2024 reality versus my 2025 goals yet, but this will give you a good idea. So this inner circle is all of where I feel like I'm at. For environment, let's use this one as an example. So the purple is where I felt like I was at the end of 2023. So it looks like I was at what, 5? And then the black is where I wanted to be at the end of 2024. So I had high ambitions. I wanted to be at a 10. I was at a 5 and I wanted to take it to a 10. So the orange is what I just filled out yesterday, and I filled out 2 extra ones, so I felt like I took it from a 5 to a 7. So does that make sense? Like, I don't know how to explain this in terms of like speaking. It's basically all of those sections I mentioned divided up into different pieces of the pie, and then each section is going to have 10 lines through it so that it becomes 10 different levels, and you're going to color the levels for where you feel like you're at right now, and then you're going to create another marker of where you want to be in a year. And then in a year, you're going to go back and fill in where you feel like you actually are. So mine's kind of sad. I feel like I could have gotten a lot further than I actually did. Like, I am kind of disappointed that I didn't meet my goals for a lot of these. But I will say that my goals changed a lot from January versus December. So I'm kind of not surprised about that. Next, we are going to talk about my journaling for my actual goals. So basically, I divide my goals up and I write 4 to 5 big goals. And these are the goals I use for my vision board. So these are the ones I go off of to create my vision board. So I have different sections. I'm not going to show them to you because I have my goals written down. And you guys know I don't share my goals until they happen. But I have different sections, and then each section has 4 to 5 goals under it that I can check off as I complete them. So these are my big sections that have the goals: career, finances, health, environment, family, friends / relationship, and miscellaneous. So that is 6 total sections with 4 to 5 big goals on each. And that one's probably the easiest one. I just write 4 to 5 goals that I really want to complete. And yeah, those are the 3 things I write in my journal. I want to say that before you do this and you really do a 2025 deep dive to see where you want to be in a year, it's important that you're in a good headspace. So before I even filled any of this out, I took like the day just to myself, just driving, getting errands done, like getting in a good headspace, because if you're filling this out and you're not in a good headspace, I feel like it's not going to have positive intentions and your clearest intentions. So get your head as clear as you can and as positive as you can and as authentic and in a good place as you can, if that makes any sense. So that is what went into my journal. Once I do that, I go into Pinterest and start my vision board. I'll post that probably tomorrow, so you'll see my vision board, but I haven't finished it yet. I am still working on it. I really put a lot into my journal this year, so by the time I got that done, I was just so tired. So, you know, you want to come from a good headspace, so I decided to table it until tomorrow. But let's go ahead and talk about all of my different prompts and notes of how to be in a good place for 2025. So the first thing we're going to be talking about, the first division of sections, is setting intentions for 2025. This is kind of what I was talking about when I was like talking about how you needed to get in a good headspace before you create your goals. So the first thing you need to do is reflect on 2024. What were the highs and lows of this past year? What lessons did you learn? And what are you most proud of? I know for me, it was a huge, huge year of growth. I left my job. I spent 6 months traveling. I got a different job. I just grew a lot as a person. My relationships changed. A lot of my friends moved away. I made new friends. Like, there was a lot of personal growth for me this past year, which led to a lot of things that I wouldn't have expected, which is kind of why I didn't hit as many of my goals I originally set as I wanted, because I was hitting these goals I didn't know that I had until after I went through a lot of things. So reflect on your 2024 so that you know where you're at as you go into the new year. Next, we're going to talk about goal setting. So I talked about this a lot in the vision board, so I'm not going to really dive into it too much. But I want you to know that your goals need to be realistic as well as inspiring. So I like to say they could happen within 2 to 3 years is like a realistic goal for me, because that means I'm going to have to push myself, but I could make it happen this year if I really push myself. So make sure to use a SMART goal. We talked about this in the last one, but specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. If you want to get into that, check out the vision board episode. But remember that it's got to be measurable. Like, your goal could be like, spend more time walking outside. That's a great goal. But if you just put it like that, it's very, very subjective. Whereas if you say, spend more time walking outside once a week, or walk your dog outside 5 times a week for 30 minutes minimum by the end of 2025. That gives you more of a time-bound, specific, relevant goal that you can work on versus just saying, spend more time walking outside, because that's just like so relative. Like, you can say you hit it without actually hitting it, if that makes sense. And you want to hold yourself accountable. So yeah, it's got to be smart. The last little section for setting intention is have a personal growth focus. So where do you want to focus on yourself in 2025? I know that we're all going to have different areas, like those areas I mentioned with career, finances, family, things like that. You're all going to have different areas. But I feel like we all kind of know deep down, like, what we're really shooting for in 2025. Is it going to be your family and you want to grow a family? Is it going to be your career? Like, what is that one thing that you're really, really focusing on in terms of personal development? Reflect on that and ask yourself why, all those things, because you want to know where you're coming from when you go into the new year. So having that one thing that you're like, yes, this is my year for my career, this is my year for this, that is going to help you with that laser focus and find strategies as you go into the new year, because that's really important. You can set all these goals for yourself, but if you don't have strategies, then it basically means nothing. Like, you need to have like time management, time blocking, people to help you out. Like, maybe you hire a coach or a mentor, or you're listening to this episode. Like, what are you going to do to make these goals happen? So not only are you going to say, like, this is the year of my career, you're also going to break it down more and say, for all of your goals, career, finances, whatever, I'm going to devote X amount of time a week researching budgeting tips. I'm going to spend 15 minutes every single day cleaning my house so that it's always clean. What are you actually going to do? What strategies are you going to use? And how are you going to get yourself from point A to point B? So the next section we're going to talk about is career development and entrepreneurship. So a big thing that I'm really focusing on this year is not just finding a career, because I feel like I've really done that. It's building confidence in your career. So how are you going to build that confidence? What are you looking for? I think the first thing to ask yourself is, do you want a leadership role? Do you want to be in a completely different career? Do you want to be a one-man show who owns your business and you do everything? Do you want to hire an assistant? Like, what are you looking for out of your career? Where do you want to be in your career? Also, how are you going to get there? So I think that one thing we need to talk about in 2025, I'm not going to talk about it now because I need to really focus on it more, but we need to learn how to negotiate salaries. We'll talk about that in 2025. That's on the list, but it's something that we don't do enough as women. We need to negotiate our salaries. Besties, why are we not? So that's one thing you can think about, making strategic career shifts. How are you going to do that confidently in 2025? And we can do a whole episode on that alone. So if you're interested in learning about that more and what you can do to make all that happen and just being confident in these decisions and making a career that you love and you enjoy, then definitely let me know. Either DM me or comment down below if you can, if that would be something you're interested in. On that same vein, I think something important to talk about is entrepreneurship. Whether you're starting a side hustle, whether you're starting a business all from scratch and that's like your everything that you're going to be focusing on, whether you are just like in the beginning processes of getting a loan and you're going that more traditional route, whatever you are doing in 2025 in terms of entrepreneurship, that is something to think about as well, because, you know, I have like a job that I do every day, but I also have side hustles that fill my heart, and I can't like live off of them by any means, but they make me happy and they're my creative outlet and they're what I'm working on. I also am working on my books. Like I mentioned in my last episode, I am working on getting the first draft of 2 books done in 2025, and that is very entrepreneurial because you have to market it, you have to figure out whether you want to do traditional or non-traditional publishing. There's a lot of business things that go into it. So where are you in your entrepreneurial journey? And if that's something you're interested in, building confidence in that and setting time aside to grow in that area and get from point A to point B. So definitely consider that when you are writing your goals, where you want to be with that in the next year. The last thing in terms of this career development and entrepreneurship section is networking, the importance of networking. Whatever it may be, it could be something as simple as you love crocheting and you want to crochet with more people. That is networking if you're reaching out and looking for people to crochet with. It can be you're looking for people to write with. I'm currently looking for a group of people that I can write with and can hold me accountable. That is a form of networking because they have information they can share with me and I have information I can share with them about different perspectives, and they may know a publisher, I may know some tips and tricks that they don't know on marketing. Like, you're networking when you do these things. So whether you're an extrovert, an introvert, you work from home, you work in the office, it's a hobby, it's a side hustle, it's your everything, networking is so important. In 2025, we all need to make an effort to network more. That needs to be one of your goals. Like, has to be one of your goals. Make sure you are networking more in 2025 because, in my opinion, networking is more important than experience to a certain extent. Like, obviously it goes hand in hand, but if you are networking and you know all the right people, everything's gonna fall into place and you're gonna be at the right place at the right time, versus you can have all the education, you can have all the experience, but if you sit at home and you don't talk to anybody and you don't go out of your way to network, you're gonna be less likely to get where you wanna go because no one knows you and they're literally relying on your resume through a screen when you apply for something. Whereas if you network and you know people and you go out of your way, then they're like, oh my gosh, this is so-and-so. They did this. We both love golf. I talked to them this time. Oh my gosh, they're very personable. We should interview them for this role. So it's not just about getting from point A to point B. It's about making relationships and fostering those relationships. But networking, whether it's for hobby or for business, is so important. And like I said, we all need to improve, especially if you are an ambitious girly, which I think you are, because that's like the whole reason we're all here. You got to do it to grow. You got to do it to get where you want to go. Let's move on to the next section. So the next section is financial empowerment. We're going to talk about smart money management. So this is the year of budgeting, saving, and investing. Your girl's credit is not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. So literally my finance goals revolve around paying off credit cards, paying off loans, paying off whatever, and establishing a savings account. Now let's talk about this. High yield savings account, besties. I'm not gonna super dive into finances because I'm pretty sure I've already done an episode on it and I'm still learning, but this is the year of finances. Okay, we don't know what's going on with the economy. We don't. Anytime a president takes over, the next year is kind of dicey for the US. So if you're in the US and you're listening, we don't know what the economy is doing. Honestly, in the state of the world, we don't know what anybody's economy is doing because the world is a scary place. So let's do what we can to be safe. I know you want that new bag. I know you want the new pair of Lululemon leggings. And it's okay to treat yourself from time to time. But we should be saving. We should be investing. We should be fixing our credit. We should just be making smart money moves. We should be budgeting. The only way that I ever budget, save, or do anything like that is if it's a game. So that's the best way that I can explain it, is I turn it into a game. Like, ooh, whoever saves this much amount first, like between me and Josh, or like, ooh, here's a fun little binder, and whoever gets the most cash in there this week gets a fun little treat or whatever, like something stupid. But that's the only way I can do it. So a very brief overview of that, because again, like finances is just a whole other thing, but you need a emergency fund with at least $1,000 in it. I would say like 5,000 eventually, but 1,000 is good. This emergency fund needs to be separate from your savings. I know, disgusting, gross, that basically means 2 savings, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Your savings should be a high yield savings account, which means that it's building throughout the years. I prefer a high yield savings account over stocks, honestly, but that's just me. Do your own research when it comes to investing. And you should be considering long-term finance goals, like where's your 401k at? Where's your retirement savings at? Do you have real estate investments? I have one real estate investment that I send like $10 to every month, and that's not going to pay off anytime soon, but hopefully in 10 years that'll grow. So we're thinking long-term, besties. We're not thinking about that purse that we could get next week. We're thinking about that $1 million house we can get in 20 years, right? Okay, so finances, it's time. It's time. No more spending all of your money at Starbucks and the bar. It's time. We can all do this together. Take a deep breath. It's scary. It's not as fun as going to Starbucks, but it will pay off in the end, okay? It's about to pay off in the end. We're playing the long-term game, not the short-term. I personally think that it's important that every woman is 100% able to support herself outside of any other forces, whether it's a man, whether it's another woman, whether it's a dual income household. That's great. But you should be able to support yourself as a woman no matter what. Whatever happens tomorrow, if you were on your own, you would be able to support yourself. Maybe not be able to live at the same level of comfort that you are at today, but you can support yourself. And that is something that every woman needs to work towards. So I think that it's important to stress that there is a huge gap in financial literacy between men and women, and you should read up on it. Like, if you don't know enough about finances or you don't know anything, I'm personally not super well versed in things like stocks and investing. Like, I'm good with the savings and the loans and credit and things like that, but when you get into investing, I don't know. So that's something I'm going to challenge myself to get more interested in and educate myself on this year. But I really urge you to have more financial literacy in 2025 and to start working towards being independent in the event that you would need to be. It's just like a general goal that I think every single woman should have for themselves, no matter what. Okay? Love you. Okay, that's my little speech. That's my little getting on you. Maybe you already are strong and independent, and for that I salute you, but if you're not, I know it's hard, and I'm personally not there yet either, especially in this economy, but we'll be there. The last thing I want to talk about is so important in 2025 and way easier to do this year than I believe it's ever been, and that's having multiple streams of income. So make sure that you have multiple streams of income just in case something were to happen. You diversify those income sources, whether it's side jobs, freelance work, investments. It's really important because you don't know. Like, you could lose your job tomorrow for unforeseen circumstances, God forbid. You could end up in a situation where you need the extra funds. For me, the extra money that I make from my side hustles has saved me a number of times, because that extra like $400, $500 a month just has been able to like pay my bills. Like, I've been really stressed and I've just seen it and been like, oh my god, I can afford groceries now because my electric bill was like high for some reason or something. So having multiple streams of income is so important, especially now when you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow and why everything is so hard. So, and it's not, like I said, having this many streams is not as difficult as you feel like it is in 2025. Be a pet sitter, be a babysitter, walk a dog, sell stuff on TikTok Shop, get commission off of TikTok Shop. That's what I do. That's one of mine. You know, you want to do things that are really quick and easy, like I crochet items and sell them on Facebook Marketplace. These things add up, and as they add up, you're going to be able to see the growth in your finances, and a little bit goes a long way. Like, that $25 that you made off of selling that item on Facebook Marketplace may not seem like much, but when you're $25 short for your groceries, it gets you there. So you need, I'm sorry, but you just need multiple income streams in today's day and life. Unless you make like so much money, you don't even have to worry about it. But even then, like, your job could be over tomorrow. We just don't know in this day and age, like, what the sitch is. So have multiple income streams. Now we are moving on to the self-improvement and personal development portion. Let's talk about mindset shifts for 2025. Besties, if you felt like you were negative in 2024, that ends here. I was negative in 2024, it's okay. But we're done now. No more. We're not gonna be negative Nellies. We're not gonna be down on ourselves. We're not gonna live in a state of self-doubt, because positive thinking can change the world, and it has changed the world, and it's gonna continue to change the world. You wanna operate from a place of love. You wanna operate from a level of love and an energy of love. I talked about this in the last episode, but the telepathy tapes I've been listening to, if you haven't listened to them, highly recommend. But there is one kid on there who talks about love and talks about how that is the energetic state that like fixes everything. And I don't know, it just really stuck with me because I have a hard time just being positive based on like mental health stuff that I have had my whole life and I'll continue to have my whole life. And just stopping and saying, I don't have to be positive, but I need to operate from love, has kind of tricked my brain into doing that. And when you're operating from a state of love, you are being positive. So that has helped me tremendously, but I really want you guys to try and be positive going into this year and see how long you can keep it up for. Resilience is so important, bouncing back, understanding that a lot of people are projecting from their own insecurities when they are saying negative things to you, and the things that they are saying that may affect you are not about you. It actually has nothing to do with you. What people say about you has nothing to do with you. It's none of your business. It's everything to do with them. They're mirroring their own insecurities onto you because it makes someone feel better temporarily. So don't let it bother you. Just embrace growing and focusing on yourself and focusing on how much love and kindness and positivity and abundance you can spread to other people. Let it bounce off, because it's more often than not when people are being mean and angry and negative, it's a cry for help. And ask yourself, like, what can I do to help them versus why are they doing this to me? Like, how can I help them? And sometimes the best thing you can do to help them is just get out of their way, like back up and let them do their thing. And maybe they will be negative, maybe they will be mean, but sometimes you can't just be like, hey, let's talk this out. Like, sometimes you just have to let them go and stay in your own lane, and that's perfectly fine. Another mindset shift that we need to talk about is overcoming limiting beliefs. So we need to shift from a limiting belief to an empowering one. An example of this is I was thinking to myself, I always put on my goals, I would make X amount salary this year. Like, I want to grow my income stream to be from this amount to this amount total with all of my streams combined. And I thought of a number in my head and I was like, no, I couldn't possibly do that. Let's think of something lower. And then I stopped myself, because why would I put that limiting belief in my head? Like, it's 365 days for something to happen, and it only takes 1 second for everything to change. So why are you telling yourself, like, you can't make something happen in 365 days? That's a long time. And by saying to yourself constantly, like, nah, it's not gonna happen, then it's not going to, because you're just affirming to yourself over and over it's not going to. You're being negative. You're not letting yourself reach your full potential because you're holding yourself back. So get out of your own way. What limiting beliefs do you have? And when you catch yourself reciting them or telling yourself no, ask yourself why and flip the script. Like, why do I think this? What has caused me to feel this way? How can I change this? Are the thoughts that I'm having about this even valid? Like, is it even valid that I think that I can't make an X amount? Because no, it's not valid. It's just limiting beliefs that society has imposed on me this long. So limiting beliefs are hella frustrating, but we're switching into empowering ones. Kind of on the same topic of limiting beliefs, you need to overcome imposter syndrome. So I think we all have imposter syndrome in our 20s at one point. Like, I will be working and I'll be like, wait, I'm not qualified to do this. Or I'll have a podcast and I'll be like, I'm not qualified to have this many subscribers or this many followers. And you gotta stop doing that. Like, says who? It's 2025. You can be or do whoever you want to be. And like, yes, you are qualified. Yes, you are capable. I would rather you be overconfident than have no confidence. And I'm not saying to be arrogant. I'm not saying to like be like, well, I'm better than everyone and I deserve this more than anybody else. Because no, we're kind, we're humble, we're doing this from a honest and authentic place. But you deserve to be in the room. Like, don't ever be not confident at all about where you're at. Like, especially if you've gotten a degree, you've gone through all the steps, and you're in your career now, and you're working for a place that you were definitely qualified to work there. You had the degree, you have the internships, you have the experience. Like, why are you telling yourself you're not? And I do that a lot because I just like get in my head and I'll be like, nah, I'm just like an adult teenage girl. And I downplay my accomplishments. And that's imposter syndrome. And it's not true. We're leaving imposter syndrome in 2024, okay? No more. It's very similar to those limiting beliefs where when you catch yourself doing it, question why. And a lot of times you can't come up with a valid reason. So you're really just like kicking yourself in the butt and being like, oh, wait, this is just my negative thinking. Last thing on this section is having habits for success. It's your habits and routines that create a successful woman and create a woman who reaches her goals. So you're going to need to break down your life into day to day. I think for me, an important thing that I'm really focusing on is creating daily chores / routines down to like the minuscule thing. Like, I am creating a chart for myself because of my raging ADHD where I won't forget anything that I need to do for that day to be a successful badass bitch. So that's what we're talking about. It's habits that create a successful woman. It's the things that you do every single day that are mundane and maybe seem a little daunting and maybe don't feel like they mean much in the moment that are gonna make a successful woman. Consistency is everything. Consistency is key. I don't know if you know what the law of averages is, but the law of averages is the more that you do something, the more likely you are to be successful at it, because the average is going to be higher and you have a higher chance of like something successful happening. A lot of salesmen use that. Like, if you call enough people, you're going to have a sale. That's how they view it. And I think that we should look at life like that. I think that we should look at our goals like that. Like, if I make enough podcast episodes, my podcast is going to be super duper successful. If my house is cleaned enough times, and if I make it like a priority to do little things around my house, like do a couple dishes every day, sweep, things like that, my house is more likely to be spotless every day because it's the law of averages. And not only is it that, but it's like every action has a reaction. So you should be doing all the things every day, even if you don't want to, even if you have to drag yourself out of bed. Self-discipline, ladies. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't feel like filming this episode. I'm in my luteal phase. I am not in the mood. I just want to munch on some chocolate, some soda, and watch Netflix. But I said, you know what? We're not doing that this year. 2025 is about self-discipline. So we're going to get our butt up. We're going to take a shower. We're going to throw some makeup on. And we're going to have a hell of an episode. So that is what we're doing. Okay? 2025 is starting with discipline and consistency. And that's where we're at, right? Kindness leads, but self-discipline and consistency follows. That's where we're trying to be in 2025. Let's talk about health and wellness for our next section. Mental health. I have had this conversation with so many of my friends, but it's so important to put your mental health first. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't put someone else's oxygen mask on until you put yours on first. That's a flight reference if you've never flown. I know some people haven't, but you can't pour from an empty tank. You have to make sure that you are good before anybody else is good. And for a long time, I felt like it was so selfish for myself to be good before anybody else was. And I still feel a little icky when I say things like that. Like, I don't want myself to be good before everybody else is. I want everybody else to be good, and then I'll work on me last because everybody means so much to me. But that can't operate that way. You cannot operate that way. You cannot help anybody else until you're at a place where you have the capability to, and you can't do that unless you're good. So mental health is so important. I know that 2025 is right around the corner, and in terms of holidays, we're all rushing around. No one's resting because everybody's gearing up for the new year. We're all talking about what bars we're going to go to, how we're going to ring it in, what goals we're going to have, what resolutions are going to come in, what happened for Christmas, how was Christmas, everybody's traveling. Like, there's so much buzzing around going on in everybody's brains, and we all just need to sit down and ask ourselves, are you okay? And if you're not okay, ask yourself how to get okay. And maybe that's not going out for New Year's. Maybe that's spending some time alone. Maybe that's going home for a little while. What is going to get you in a good headspace for 2025? And once you get to that good place, what habits are you going to establish to keep yourself there throughout the year? Because your mental health is the very first thing that needs to be addressed before you can be successful in the new year. And that kind of goes hand in hand with like physical health and everything else, because like if you're emotionally not okay, you're not going to be okay mentally. If you're not eating well, it's going to affect your mental health. Like, so your health in general is the most important thing before you can build on that and be successful. But your mental health is big because that's where your strategies, your beautiful brain, all that operates. So mental health in the new year is so, so important. Make sure that you are managing your stress. You are going to therapy if that's something that interests you. You're practicing mindfulness, meditating, taking time for yourself, practicing self-care. I put self-care routine and how to improve it on my goals for the new year every single year, because it's important that you are good before anybody else is good. So you should be having self-care routines in place. You should be implementing new things. You should be in a good place there. I mentioned your physical health a little bit, but make sure that your physical health and fitness goals are good for the new year as well. I know that we all have a fairly busy schedule. A lot of us have side hustles, a lot of us have jobs, a lot of us want to get there, a lot of us are in school. And I know for me personally, it's hard to get to the gym sometimes. It's hard to get all the way across town to the gym. It's hard to even get out of the house sometimes because I work from home. But you have to make it happen. And like I said earlier with the self-discipline, where sometimes you don't want to, but you have to. And on top of that, make it easier for yourself. Like, you want it to be as easy as possible so that when the time comes, you can just do it. So going to the gym, maybe lay out your outfit the night before so that as soon as you get off work, you walk into your closet or you walk into your bedroom and it's sitting right there and you just put it on and go. Maybe order something from like takeout once a week so that you have to go to the gym and then get takeout after, like, so that you have to pick it up at a certain time. There are certain things you can do to kind of coax yourself to get out, but do those things and then tell yourself, if I don't go to the gym 5 days this week, then I can't do takeout on Friday nights. Like, give yourself an incentive to make it easier to complete these goals while also implementing that self-discipline, because like I said, discipline is the key, consistency is the key, and you're not always going to be in the mood to do it. It's not always going to sound fun. It's not always going to sound like a good idea. Lastly, work-life balance. Boundaries, baby. It's hard. I know for me, like, I do the podcast. I run 3 different social media things. I talked about that. So 5 o'clock for me, I mean, when I clock out of my salary daily job, I clock in to social media. So for me, work-life balance is something that's really difficult, and I think that it's difficult for a lot of you too, because you're in a similar headspace with the side hustles and things, but you have to have hard boundaries. For me, it's my phone goes on Do Not Disturb automatically after 9:30, and that's it. Like, that's the end. Like, no more working on your phone. And I try to be done earlier than that so that I can shower and do things, because I like to be pretty much ready to go to bed at 9:30 so that I can just chill out, lay down, hang out with my pets, read a book for the next hour or so. But, you know, it's different day to day. But make sure you're setting strong boundaries. And you set these with, you have to be like very, very strict with yourself, because you're going to want to break them. You're going to want to say, no, just 5 more minutes. Let me just finish what I'm doing. Set hard boundaries. Be hard on yourself, because it's your work-life balance you're talking about, and you need to make sure that you have one. Okay? I know that sometimes that's hard. I know it doesn't seem like you need one, but you do. So make sure you have a work-life balance. Next, we're going to be talking about relationships and social growth. make sure you are building meaningful relationships. I know that this is something I'm working on in 2025 because, like I mentioned, a lot of my friends moved away. So while I still am maintaining those friendships, I'm trying to build friendships in my city and kind of starting over there, nurturing those. I know that for me, I get caught up in everything I'm doing and I don't always reach out to my friends. So I'm working on making more of an effort to reach out to them, and that's something that you can add to your goals. And you can say, like, you know, by making sure that you check in on them how many days a week, like whatever it is. I feel like with stuff like this, it's okay to not have like a SMART goal where it's super, super down to the minute. Like, you don't want it to be robotic. So if you don't want to for this, don't, but make sure to stay on top of yourself so that you are actually doing it. But nurturing friendships is really important, especially in this day and age where the world is so loud. Like, social media is so loud, life is so loud, work is so loud, and everybody has so much going on, and everybody's going in different directions. Some of us are married, some of us have babies, some of us are still partying, some of us are in college. Like, my friends are all over the place. We're all in different stages of our life, and finding a time for us to even just talk on the phone is crazy, because it's like, I can get you in 2 months on a Tuesday at 4 p.m. Does that work? Okay, we'll see if that's still open then. Like, life is crazy, but make sure that you're still checking in and nurturing those friendships. It's okay to say, like, hey, I'm going through a lot, I'm really busy right now, you good? And they should have that understanding. Like, you guys should be understanding of each other and where you're at in life, but you also shouldn't neglect each other. So make sure you are nurturing friendships and building meaningful relationships as you go into the new year, and continue to set boundaries with people who don't support your goals. I've talked about this so many times, so I'm not gonna, talk about it very long, but make sure that the people that you are allowing into your life and you are discussing your biggest dreams and goals with actually support you and are interested in what you have to say. Because if they're not, it's okay. Not everyone is gonna understand. And I've talked about before how I have like family who don't necessarily support me, and it's not coming from a place of malice, but it's coming from a place of they want me to be very traditional and go down a very traditional route and have like stability and safety. That's like their top priority, because they want me to be stable and safe and all those things. So I know it's not coming from a place of malice, but it's also like, I don't want to talk to them about my goals, because they're just going to talk about how I need to make sure that I'm still being safe, and I'm still being stable, and I'm still not taking any like risks, and that's just not who I am. So I love them, but I'm gonna set a boundary, and I'm not gonna talk to them about things that I know they're not gonna agree with. So make sure that you are doing that. If people can't respect that boundary, then set harder ones. I talked about having toxic relationships with families and how to navigate the holidays doing that a few episodes ago. Definitely watch or listen to that if you are someone who has a lot of toxic family, toxic friends. It's relatable all throughout the year. Like, I may say Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, whatever it may be, but I think it's applicable to your life in general. So if you have toxic relationships in your life where they just don't support you, they don't respect you, then definitely listen to that. Make sure that you have support systems and, if possible, a mentorship. If you want to do something specific, seek out someone who is really good at that and ask them if you can pick their brain, ask them some questions. I've done it a time or two. If you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Definitely DM me, comment down below, and I'm happy to talk to you about whatever you may need. Maybe you want a mentor who's in your city, in your area, in a specific field. Reach out to them. Like I said, networking is so, so important, and there's nothing wrong with reaching out and saying, hey, I really admire your work. I would love to ask you a couple questions, pick your brain, take you out to coffee, whatever it may be. And maybe they'll say no, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. I've had people say no to me before. I've had people ghost me, and I know that it's not because of me. It's because they're successful, so they're busy more often than not. Like, I had one person I really wanted to meet up with because they owned a shop that I had been to a bunch of times, I really admired, and I wanted to open a shop similar to. So I reached out to them, and we were supposed to meet for coffee, but they were opening a new shop, and so they kind of just ghosted me. And no, I didn't take it personally. I knew that they were going through a lot. They were very busy, and unfortunately, I wasn't very high up on their priority list, which is fine. You may not be. But it's not about you, it's about them and where they're at in their own individual journey, and there's plenty of fish in the sea. If not them, then just find somebody else. If you're looking for a support system, of course, definitely follow or subscribe or whatever the term is. We're a community of women who are working to become the best version of ourselves. And I know it gets lonely out there. I felt very lonely, and that's why I started the podcast to begin with. And you guys mean the world to me. You are such a strong group of women, and I love growing with you. So if you're looking for a support system, that's us. Like, you found the right place. Next, we're going to talk about celebrating milestones and creating a vision. So let's visualize our future selves this year. And I talk about this a little bit in the vision board episode, but I'll talk about it again. You want to visualize your lives in 2025. Here are some questions I'm going to ask you that can help you visualize it. What does success look like? How do you break that down into something small and actionable? Where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you live? How do you act? What do you look like? What does success mean to you? What do your finances look like? What do your friendships look like? I'm going to encourage you to spend the next couple of days really meditating and visualizing yourself in a year. Just sit down, quiet your mind. If you're having trouble doing that, look up a meditation on YouTube. There's some great ones, guided meditations. You got to be careful with subliminals, but definitely there's some good guided meditations that can help you quiet your mind. And once you get yourself to a quiet space where you feel empty, like there's really nothing going on in your head empty, no thoughts, then start building the image of where you see yourself in a year. Who is she? What type of relationship is she in? What are her goals? What's her career look like? And like I said, don't be afraid to shoot for the moon. Don't be afraid to just go for what you believe the most empowering version of yourself is. What is that saying? It's like shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars. I like to create goals that are actionable and I see myself getting done in 2 to 3 years. But when it comes to visualizing, I'm visualizing who I see myself as like the ultimate highest potential. Like, you don't want to have any limiting beliefs. So visualize yourself making $1 million, $2 million, $10 million a year. Visualize yourself in a big, beautiful house. Visualize yourself writing 15 books that you've published. Whatever your goal is, whatever your thing is that keeps you going every single day, that's what you want to visualize yourself being so incredibly good at. Get so detailed about the size of your house, the colors that you use in your bedroom, the food that you eat, like who makes up this person? And then you're going to break that down into small actionable steps. Make sure that you are celebrating small wins. I know for me, it's hard to stop and say like, oh yeah, I celebrated this. Like, oh yeah, awesome, I achieved this, because you want to get the big shiny thing that is super impressive. But make sure you're celebrating those small wins. Like I mentioned, if you go to the gym 5 days in a row, get takeout on a Friday night. Like, small things like that, make sure you're celebrating them. Grab a coffee on Friday mornings. I used to do that when I worked like in an office. I would get coffee on Friday mornings. When I got paid, Josh and I would go to dinner every 2 weeks. That would be like a little fun thing. Like, don't make your life all about completing this goal. You still want to live your life. You don't want to just be like a shell who's just a bullet going towards this thing. Like, you want to make sure that you are living every day to the fullest and you're living in the present. So celebrate the small wins. The last thing I want to leave you with is a challenge for 2025. So I really, really want us to have positive thinking and a positive mindset in the new year. So what I'm going to challenge you to is to have gratitude journaling for the first month of January. And then continue if you feel like you can. But at least the first month. What you're going to do is every day you are going to write down 3 things you are thankful for. You're going to wake up and the first thing you're going to do is write down 3 things you're thankful for. If you don't want to write them down, you can say them out loud. I do that because it has more of an impact on me. But you nevertheless are writing 3 things that you are thankful for. And I want you to do that for the first month of January 2025. And you are starting your day with a positive thought, a positive mindset. Let me know how you feel at the end of the month. Let me know how things change at the end of the month as well. So that is my challenge for you. If you made it this far, go ahead and comment the purple firework emoji if you can, because new year, yay. And that'll be awesome. That'll be like our little inside joke. Like, oh my God, bestie, I see what you did. If you know, you know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a bit of a longer one, but I kind of wanted it to be like a big 2025 master episode. If you want to know how to create a vision board that actually works, go ahead and check out that on one of my previous episodes. It was like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Check that out next to get you all set for 2025. But we are going to crush it this year. I'm so excited for us. We are living our life and I'm so excited. Let me know what your New Year's resolution is down below. And yeah, I couldn't be more excited for 2024 to be over, honestly. Like, I learned, I grew a lot, and I set the foundation for 2025. Let's just get at it so that we can vibe. Okay, that's pretty much it. I love you guys so, so much. And I will see you in 2025. Bye, guys. Love you.